Welcome in, everyone. This is another episode of Catfish on Ice with your host, Chad Minton and Rich Howe. How are you doing tonight, Rich?
Doing good. How about you? Doing well.
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. As we
Awesome.
we got to get through the Nashville Predators off season somehow. And so tonight we've got some really good topics to get into.
It's going to be tough. I'm really jonesing for some hockey.
Well, Rich, I already see you over there sweating it out over this hockey spelling bee that we have lined up here.
You need to be sweating, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. So
I've got a couple of really good ones.
So if anyone who listened to last week's episode, or you can go listen to it after you listen to this episode, I totally surprised. Listen to all 138 episodes in a row. Just call out of work, take your sick days, take your time off, and just binge Catfish on Ice for I don't know how long that would take you to listen to all 138 episodes consecutively. Yep. You can take some breaks in between if you need to. We'll allow that. But that's a lot of episodes. Anyway,
it is. What's up, Mike?
Up, Mike Twitter? Mike Twitter's in live and direct. Hello, guys. What's up, Mike Twitter?
Awesome.
Joining us on YouTube here. All right, so I totally blindsided Rich in last week's episode and made him spell Nino Niederreiter right.
I was close.
Right when we went live. It was great. It was radio gold, if you will. So that spawned this whole idea tonight of a hockey spelling bee. I've got two very well-known current NHL players, but both of their names are tricky to spell. And so I can't wait to see if Rich can come through. And even if he spells one of these names right, I'm going to be very impressed.
I have a bonus for you too. So
I like bonuses. Okay, I'll take a bonus. This is either going to go really great or it's going to be really, really embarrassing.
It's probably going to be embarrassing.
But hey, we're all for embarrassing each other here on this show. That's how we have fun. All right. Speaking of which, I went to saw a little day baseball today. Went to go see the Tampa Bay Rays, the new hometown team. Wow. Got to see them play the Toronto Blue Jays. The Tropicana Field is where they play, which is 3 blocks away from my apartment. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so I walked on down and watched a little day baseball. But I didn't catch the memo, Rich, that since it's a Wednesday and I guess the kids are getting ready to go back to school, it was field trip day at Tropicana Field.
No field trip.
And I think every school in 100-mile radius was on a field trip. Wow. At Tropicana. And I love kids. Don't get me wrong. I love kids. But it was a lot to handle. And in my section in particular, so they gave all the kids those little inflatable things that you could beat together. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I do.
And my gosh. That's great. And these kids were going nuts with these things. I don't even know if these kids were actually watching the game, but they loved these inflatable things. And the kid behind me was making it a point to bash these things together for nonstop, right behind my. It was awesome. It was too much.
That's the American equivalent of what are those horn things? Yeah,
they're called vuvuzelas. Yeah,
vuvuzela. There you go.
Yeah, and then there was this other kid that was in my section, and he was alternating which team he was cheering for each inning. So one inning he would be one inning he'd be going, "Go Blue Jays, go! Go Blue Jays, go!" And then the next inning he'd be, "Go Rays, go, go!" Okay. I'm like, wait a minute, kid. You can't cheer for both teams. It's not allowed.
I guess that's an option.
That is an option. He's guaranteed to leave a winner by doing
fair weather fan there.
I guess you gotta start them young. So that way they can avoid the heartbreak. But anyway, the Rays won. They got a win, so it was fun to see the hometown team here.
Yeah, there's nothing like going to a professional baseball team game. It's really fun. I like going. I don't watch it much at all.
Yeah.
But man, when you're at the park, man, it was just something really cool.
There's something really special about going to a daytime baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
Right in the middle of the day. It's something special about it. So it was a lot of fun. All right, so everyone, thanks for hopping in. This is Catfish on Ice, episode 139. Let's tell you what we're getting into tonight. As Max,
let's say hello to some folk first.
All right, Max Greenberg drops in and says hello,
Max
gentlemen.
In here. Got Nikki. What's up, Nikki? Mike Twitter's in here. Yeah, it's awesome. Glad you guys joined us.
Thank you for joining us. All right,
Appreciate it.
We are getting into. We're going to go back and look at every captain that the Preds have had in their team history, talk about them, kind of list who we think is the best captain of all time. I think it's going to probably come down to two. But it's going to be split. I don't know. Like
it's tough. It's definitely tough
to pick between these two. But anyway, we're going to list all the captains in team history. There's been some good ones. All of them were really impactful on and off the ice, which is what you want in a captain. So it'll be fun to look back at some of the early days, some of the early captains on this team, and some of the captains that took us through until we got to our current team captain, which is none other than Roman Josi, the great captain. So that'll be fun. We've got to talk about Yakov Trenin as he is in contract arbitration. We should hear something by Thursday. So if you're listening to this episode the following day, then the news might already be out about his contract and what they end up coming around to. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about what his impact is on next year's team. It's pretty important. He gets overlooked a lot, and this guy is very important. Rich, you talk about it all the time, secondary scoring, needing that secondary scoring. Well, Yakov Trenin is one of those players that's going to provide that secondary scoring for this team next year. So he's very, very important. And I'm always going to applaud a player who is doing what the best they can to get as much salary as they can based on what they think they're owed. So, no, I have no problem whatsoever with Yakov Trenin negotiating and trying to get as good of a deal as he possibly can.
For sure. Absolutely.
And then we're going to talk about, that's going to kind of take us into the next segment, which will be players next season who have the most to prove. And I mean, you can argue almost every player for sure. You can argue almost every player on this team has something to prove, but I'm talking about players who have the most to prove. So we're going to go through that. We got some good responses on Twitter that we'll share. And how about Paul Bissonnette's tweet from Spit Chicklets talking about the Preds are basically sustained relevancy. Basically saying that since 2010, I could not believe this. Since 2010, the Preds have the sixth best winning percentage in the NHL. They're up there with teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning in terms of win percentage in the regular season. The problem with that is they have not translated that to a lot of playoff success, and that's what drives you crazy.
Absolutely. Quite the bummer, but
you know what?
Bummer.
If you make the playoffs every year, you got to think sooner or later, one of those years, you're going to break through. They did it in 2017. I mean, sometimes you just got to get in and you got to see what happens. Let's hope they can do that again this year and, let the chips fall where they may once that happens.
The new season, anything can happen.
We say that every offseason. We
for sure do, but
you
got to have hope, man.
You got to have hope. We are, of course, presented by DraftKings. DraftKings promo code THPN. We'll tell you more about DraftKings and the offer we got available for you right now later in the episode, so stay tuned for that. Let's start off with Yakov Trenin. Rich, what are you seeing? What are you thinking right now when it comes to this arbitration hearing? It's basically going to be ruled upon probably in the next 24 hours. We should know exactly what Yakov Trenin's going to get for a contract.
Yep. I know it's pretty standard, fair. I remember when UC Saros went through it and we were all up in arms, like, pay him, whatever. And we, learned that I was told by some people on Twitter that happens all the time. It's not that big a deal, but you still don't like to see it happen. I'd prefer they got a deal done without having to do this. I did see that it's going to be definitely 2 years, but they haven't decided how much. And that's what the arbitrator is going to what they're going to determine. I can't remember the exact amounts, but it looked like they were kind of a little far apart. Do you remember the
Well,
numbers?
well, 3 days ago, Elliot Friedman tweeted that the
That's
arbitration
it.
filings for Yakov Trenin, the team was at 2 years at 1.35 million, whereas Trenin, his camp is a $2.4 million contract on a 1-year deal. So total money wise, it's pretty much works out to almost the same amount of money. But it's
Right.
looking like Trenin wants a little bit more freedom to maybe do what he wants to do next offseason. So he wants that 1-year deal instead of a 2-year deal. You get a little bit more flexibility that way from the player's point of view, that's how I see it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe if he has he had a pretty decent season last year. If he has another one, string together something, he'll have a little more bargaining chips if he wants to stay in Nashville or if he wants to go somewhere else. I would hate to see him
eventually he can become an unrestricted free agent at that point as well.
for sure.
Eventually,
Yeah.
So I think that's really the only thing that's tying everything up. But they'll get a deal done. It's probably going to be close to the $2 million range, maybe a little bit shy of $2 million is what I'm seeing. But definitely fall in the 2-year mark. So it'll be interesting to see. That's really the last big off-season thing that's on the docket right now. It's just waiting for Yakov Trenin to get his contract, and then that'll take up most of the remaining cap space for the team. That's going to put them really, really close to that cap ceiling once they get Trenin's contract taken care of.
Yeah, so then the rest of the offseason, it'll be we get anybody else, it'll be a trade.
It'll have to be
because there's no way around it. So
you would have to shed a contract or two to make a room for another player on this team at this point. Which, I mean, you can never really rule that out, but I'm starting to think that this is the team we got moving forward.
I think you're right. I agree with that statement 100%. Just talking about Yakov Trenin, we were chatting a little bit before we started. He's a really important part to this team. I know he's not like a prolific goal scorer, but he does contribute. And there was a stretch last season when they were struggling pretty good. He was like the player who was really looked like he was trying, I guess would be a good way to put it. And
I remember those games.
He was jacked up to be playing. Yeah, man, like he was the only one doing anything out there, it seemed like. And that's important. I mean, that's really important in my book. So
I think that Yakov Trenin has all the tools necessary to be a 20-plus goal scorer.
Oh, yeah.
Like I definitely he had 17 goals last year. And I definitely think that he's got it in him. He's only 25 years old.
Right. Yeah. And his average time on ice was not even 12 minutes. So that's 17 goals, averaging not even 12 minutes time on ice. So
that's a lot of efficiency there for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of efficiency. Yeah, 17 goals, 7 assists, 24 points. Most of it, all of his damage was done at even strength.
Here's our friend Boyd.
Oh, what's up, Boyd?
Low-key Trenin is the Preds' best PK forward already. I would agree with that.
That's a good point Boyd brings up. Penalty-killing forwards are very, very important. Yep. Trenin is one of those. He's such a good two-way player. I mean, he's got offense, but that's why he fits in that herd line so well, and we expect those three to be together again this year, most likely. But, yeah.
He's not flashy by any means, but he gets the job done, and that's what I like about him a lot.
By the way, shout out to Boyd. He invited me onto his podcast last week, the Predator Way podcast, which is part of Penalty Box Radio. Had a blast joining Boyd on his outstanding podcast. So go check that out as well. The Predator Way podcast. It's on Penalty Box Radio. A lot of fun joining Boyd on his podcast. So thanks for the invite, man. And Boyd, you're welcome on anytime. We'll get you on. We'll get you on before the season starts for sure. So going back to Trenin real quick to wrap this up. Yeah, I mean, you would expect him to once again be on the herd line, right, Rich? Do you expect him to be there?
I do. With who they just got in Niederreiter, yeah, I would say. I think the herd line's probably going to be still the same.
Keep that chemistry flowing. Don't go away. That was your most effective line for so much of the season. It was the one line that you could really, really trust to take care of business when they needed to. So keep those guys together. See if they can just keep building off of what they did last year. There's no reason not to think that Tanner Jeannot is not going to get even better this year. Yakov Trenin, same thing. And then we know what we have in Colton Sissons. I mean, he's a proven veteran. So
he's the new Callie Yarncroc. He's a Swiss Army knife.
Just don't touch that line. Leave that line intact, and I'm feeling really good about it.
Yeah. The only thing I could ever see would be moving Jeannot up to the second line. I know they tried that a little bit last year, but I kind of like him. I kind of like him where he's at, if I'm honest. So
that kind of scares me to think about that, though, just because then you're really kind of tinkering with something, and it might completely blow up in your face early in the season. Then you got to reshuffle everything, and then you got to try to put back with the herd line. It could just. Right. I don't know if I would mess with it if it's not needed.
Yeah. So Max says, in my opinion, have to move Jeannot with Glass and Tolvanen and dismantle the herd.
Oh, okay. All right, Max.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely that could happen too.
That's
John Hines. He's done stranger things before, so
that's something that's going to have to be. That's something that's really going to be a focal point in training camp for John Hines. For sure. Is now that he's got Nino Niederreiter in the mix, and now that Luke Kunin's no longer in the mix, obviously you've got to work around some things. So it'll be interesting to see if he comes out with a whole new – I'm sure he's going to throw some interesting line combinations out there during the preseason just to see what's working and what's not. And, of course, we'll see practice line rushes and stuff in training camp. So, it's going to be a really, really interesting training camp to see how those lines are rolled out at first.
Exciting. It's always exciting when that training camp starts and you kind of see things start to take a little bit of a shape. That's really awesome.
Speaking of which, let's get into our next segment here. Players with the most to prove going into next season. I think we did this segment last year, and I always think it's a really good segment this time in the offseason to really just push reset. All the major offseason moves have happened. Now it's time to look forward. Now it's time to look ahead to September and October when the regular season starts, and really thinking about players who have the most to prove. I'm going to go ahead and say the most obvious one to me. It's got to be Philip Forsberg.
And that was number one on my list as well.
I mean, it has to be because now that it's just fair or foul. Now that he's got this big contract, he is going to be under not just the spotlight here in Nashville, but all around the league.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, if he gets off to a really bad 10-game slump to open the season, the critics will come out in droves. I promise you they will. And they will be jumping the gun like they always do, and they'll probably be pushing the panic button quicker than they should. But those critics will be out there. They're just waiting. They're waiting in the tall grass to pop out as soon as Philip Forsberg has a slump, and maybe he's not performing at the same pace that he was last year.
Yeah, we don't want to see another February. Is that what they call it? February, where he has his normal slump. But he had his best season last year, 84 points, best season of his career. Played awesome. Now you got your contract that you wanted. It's a nice contract. You gotta put those numbers up again and do even better than you did last year, in my opinion. So he's gonna have to just clamp down and just don't go into I got my big contract slump because
and that doesn't worry me about Forsberg at all.
Yeah, I don't either. But
he's got that eye. He's got that eye of the tiger. I know he wants to win a Stanley Cup so bad. I know he wants to bring it to Nashville, and so I'm not worried about him. Taking his foot off the gas at all. He strikes me as a very highly competitive type of individual who wants to win really, really bad. He'll do it. He'll do it any way he can get it. He doesn't care that he has a contract and he has security. This guy wants to win. He's going to be hungry. He's going to be ready to go. So I'm not that doesn't worry me. But he does have a lot to prove, though. Obviously, he's got to. he can't regress into an ordinary player anymore, because now that he's got that long-term contract, he's really got to live up to being the franchise player, just like Roman Josi has to live up to that same reputation.
Absolutely.
And he does, by the way. Roman Josi does. So now Philip Forsberg, if he wants to be close to being in that same class as Roman Josi, then he's going to have to step up and prove it this year, just like he did last year. He's got to do it again. And that's tough. Sure. That's a tough ask.
And we've talked about in the past, he's like Nashville's obviously one of their top players. Hasn't really taken the step into the elite category yet. He was flirting with that last season, it seemed like. Maybe next year is going to be the year he breaks out and just steps up into that category. That would be amazing. I will take that all day. So,
and we know he has the talent to do it. We know he does. So it's just a matter of, and a big thing is he is playing in that 75 to 80 game range. You know, like not counting the COVID shortened season and not counting the 56 game season. Forsberg still has had a lot of seasons where he failed to even play 70 games in the regular season. So it'd be really nice for him to get some injury luck and maybe play in the 75 to 80 game range. That would be huge for the Predators, to not have to lose him for an extended amount of time. Obviously, that would be huge. That's huge for any team, not losing their star players. Okay, so Rich, give us another player you got on your list here. Players that have the most to prove going into next season.
I'm going to say Matt Duchene.
Oh, so we got your Batman, and you got your Robin here.
There you go.
With Forsberg and Matt Duchene.
He quieted all the critics last season. He played amazing. We got, however many years of mediocrity from him. He finally stepped up, and like people have said, he earned his contract finally last year. Now this year is going to be the time for him to be consistent and do it again. I mean, he has to. He's got to have the exact same results as he did last year, and to prove that it wasn't just a fluke and it wasn't just a 1 year thing. So everybody had, once he started playing well, he was under the microscope as well. Everybody was looking at him. He played amazing, had a great season. And he needs to do it again. I mean, they just got to carry forward.
For sure. Yeah, he definitely has. I mean, we said last year, if we were doing this segment this time last year, I'm pretty sure we had Matt Duchene is probably at the top of the list as having the most to prove.
Oh, yeah.
And he's still on that list. He's going to be a very polarizing player every season he's here. I came across a really interesting stat with Matt Duchene. He is third in Predators history in points per game. Third. Oh, wow. He is the third most efficient point scorer in Preds history. You've got a three-way tie for second. Jason Arnott, Steve Sullivan, and Philip Forsberg are tied for second place in points per game. Paul Kariya is the all-time leader in points per game. So Matt Duchene is one of the most efficient point scorers in Preds history. And yet the guy still gets so much criticism.
Would have never even dreamed that was true. He's
higher than Roman Josi.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Those years where he struggled, like I guess it's like he didn't have an awful season, a couple seasons. They were just mediocre for how much money he makes. And that's why, we were always like putting him under the microscope and it's like, this dude makes $8 million a season. He needs to be playing better. By all standards, he probably had decent seasons. It wasn't what we wanted.
Well, and he was also one of the biggest offseason acquisitions in Predators history.
Yeah, for sure.
Not counting maybe there's maybe a handful of other big moves, but Matt Duchene's got to be the biggest one of the biggest ones in Preds history. So he was naturally immediately under the microscope as soon as he came to Nashville. It was really nice to see him have such a great year last year. Him and Philip Forsberg were going tit for tat on goals. We were all waiting who was going to break the record first. They were just trading goals every night with this undeniable chemistry. Let's hope they play on the same line again together. Don't break those two up. And there's no reason to think they can't do the same thing again, playing on the same line together. But he does have a lot to prove, for sure. All right. I've got a big one here. Eeli Tolvanen.
I was getting ready to ask you about that because Max Greenberg was like, Tolvi for a lot to prove? Yeah, for sure. That's a good one.
Tolvanen's got a lot to prove. Everyone knows that. He is the time is running out for him. It's not time to pull the ripcord on him just yet. He's still an extremely young player, and he does a lot of other things well. He has improved his all-around game. But he's touted as a goal scorer. That's what he is, and he's got to start scoring goals. I know he's had some bad puck luck. His shooting percentage was abysmal, and so you've got to hope that just the law of averages work back in his favor a little bit. A big part of that is he needs to find a very consistent place in this lineup, and he hasn't really had that. In his time with the Preds. He really has not had a consistent spot on the line. So I'm really liking the idea of him playing with Cody Glass on the same line. I think that could be a very, very good thing there for both players, because I'm expecting Cody Glass to just be extremely confident and be extremely ready to take on a fourth line role on this team after the season he had with the Milwaukee Admirals. And he's a really good puck distributor. He piled up the assists last year for the Milwaukee Admirals, just piled them up. And so if he can just translate that to a fourth line role on the Preds this year and make Eeli Tolvanen a better player, and we can finally start seeing Eeli Tolvanen score some goals, that would be hugely beneficial for Eeli Tolvanen, because if we don't start seeing a big improvement in his game, then I've got Eeli Tolvanen as a major trade piece.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely he had that, last the season before where he played really well for a little bit and then got hurt, and then ever since then, man, he just cannot catch a break. I was looking at his stats. He averaged like 13 and a half minutes time on ice last season, which that's pretty good actually. If he's stuck on the fourth line, I don't know how much of that he's going to get if that's where he winds up, but yeah, man, we need him to break out. I think he can do it. He proved he can score. There's something he's snake bit. Something's wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see Tolvanen being a player who's alternated between maybe the fourth line and the top six based on how players are playing. So, for instance, let's say they start the season with Philip Tomasino in the top six, and maybe Tomasino's struggling a little bit, maybe something's not clicking, then I could see Tolvanen as the first player that they say, okay, we're going to put Tolvanen in there now. So he's going to get his chances. I don't think he's necessarily stuck on the fourth line, but he's got to produce. He really does. And I'm telling you right now, if Tolvanen struggles really badly, then he's going to get benched. He is going to be a healthy scratch. He's going to be a healthy scratch. And you see Max Greenberg in the comments here saying, problem is who plays with him if it's not Jeannot. He brings up Tommy Novak. Well, Tommy Novak's a player that could definitely take Eeli Tolvanen's place in the lineup.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And also definitely agree with what you said about him being healthy scratched. I think this is the year. If he's going to do anything, he better do it this year. So
the Predators also have a little bit of a logjam at the center position, because now that Cody Glass is moving in, Cody Glass is a natural center. You're going to keep Colton Sissons as a center. And then, of course, Ryan Johansson and Mikael Granlund are your other two centers. So Tommy Novak, you would like to see him stay at a center's position, but he's not going to take over Cody Glass's center spot. So if Tommy Novak's in the starting lineup, then he's going to have to play wing, which he can do that. Tommy Novak can play wing. But I'm telling you, that's one player that I think could take a starting role away from Eeli Tolvanen if Tolvanen's struggling really badly. Again,
I agree 100%. For sure.
So,
Nikki said, I hope Tolvi does something to have too many of his rookie cards for him to flop.
Oh, okay.
For sure.
I don't think he's going to flop. I don't. That's such a harsh term. I don't want to say he's flopping right now, but
Yeah.
He just had very high ceiling. Like when he got drafted, very, very high ceiling, just like our latest draft pick, Kamel, and how everyone's calling him a big steal. Well, Ellie Tolvanen was considered a major steal as well when he was taken by the Predators in 2017. Very late in the first round, might I add. And so he's had very big expectations to live up to since he was drafted by this team. So he's just fair or not, he's running out of time, and this is his big season where he can take a big step forward, and then we can go from there. But the Preds have options if they need to move Tolvanen out if his play is slumpy.
Yeah, I think what you said though too about his not having consistent line mates, he seems like he's the type of player that definitely needs some consistent line mates, and he just was too streaky to get earn that, I guess. So he had to get moved around wherever he was needed. So,
speaking of other players who could be trade pieces coming up here in the next year or two, if their play doesn't get better or if they don't find a spot in this lineup, and even if this player does play very well this coming up season, he might still be a trade piece, and he might even just increase his trade value. At this point, that might be what he's actually playing for, and that is Dante Fabro.
He's always part of that trade talk. That's for sure.
I mean, he might have reason to prove himself for his current team, which is the Nashville Predators, but I actually think he has a lot to prove to increase his trade value, because if he has a really, really strong season, then other teams out there are going to be very, very interested in acquiring a Dante Fabro. That helps the Predators in terms of finding a trade partner, and they can get something in return that they want. So there's a lot riding on Dante Fabro having a really good season.
There is. And his position was shaken up when they got McDonough.
Yes.
So Fabro is definitely probably going to be playing third pair for sure.
Yeah.
I don't see any other way around it.
He has to be. Be. There's no other way around it. There shouldn't even be really any speculation on this. If he is on this team, he's going to be on the third pairing. And, I think on a lot of teams, that's probably where he belongs, is on the third pairing.
I think
there's probably some teams out there who are super thin at defense, and they could probably say, you know what, no, Fabro would have to be on our second pairing. But he's on most teams, he's most quality playoff contending teams. Dante Fabro is a third pairing defenseman.
Yeah, that's for sure. He was probably needed to start off there to begin with. When he first started playing for Nashville. So,
the biggest thing about Dante Fabro for me is, and I'm a big Dante Fabro supporter.
Yeah.
The biggest thing about him is he hasn't evolved into the offensive defenseman that you would like to see. If you're going to be on the top two pairings for a playoff contending high quality team that you hope the Predators are becoming, then your top four defensemen need to be able to drive the puck. They need to be able to generate offense. That's just how this league works now. And three of your top four defensemen before the Ryan McDonough addition, you feel like they do that. Roman Josi definitely does that. Matthias Ekholm drives offense, and Alexander Carrier is playing well beyond his years in this league.
Sure.
And he definitely brings offensive playmaking abilities to the lineup. Dante Fabro, not so much. Now, Dante Fabro is a really good defensive defenseman. He blocks a lot of shots. He's usually in the right place at the right time, makes the right decision a lot of times. But he can be a really good penalty killer. But we're not seeing that offensive uptick in his game like you would like to see. So that's kind of what he has to show. And it's going to be hard for him to do that in a third pairing role. But whatever you can see out of him offensively would be nice.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like, if you read what it's probably going to be him and Jeremy Lauzon, that's actually a pretty strong third pairing in my book. I like Mark Borowiecki. I like those other two guys better.
Borowiecki's gonna get rotated in plenty of times.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
you're probably gonna see instances where Lauzon might be a healthy scratch. You put Boro in. But that's another thing that's going to be really interesting to see how they divvy up the games. It's going to be based on performance for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Though the biggest thing that scares me about Jeremy Lauzon is I don't want him to turn into another penalty machine here because we already have enough of
That's
that.
true.
And he is going to take a lot of penalties. That's just the way Jeremy Lauzon plays. That's the way Mark Borowiecki plays. So regardless of which one of those two players are in there, they're going to probably take the lion's share of the penalties. But
yeah, definitely.
It's going to be really, really intriguing to see how they work those out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Kyle obviously isn't here tonight. He's a little under the weather, but we chatted with him a little bit before this to talk about who he thought someone who needed to step up. And I said this player too. He said UC Saros has a lot to prove next season. And his reasoning, Kyle's reasoning was started off strong, was definitely up in the, Vesna category for a really long time. And then he kind of dropped off. The team dropped off. So that's to be expected. But, his first season as a starter got interrupted a little bit. So now we just need to next season just carry on and play even better than he did this year.
Well, he's got a lot to prove because he's coming back from that nasty injury that that happened right before the season ended. And we'll never know what kind of impact he would have made if he could have made it into that playoff series.
Probably wouldn't have been a same outcome, but
come on, Rich,
a little better. Man,
we wouldn't have been the brooms would not have been broken out. He would have gotten us a win at least.
Yeah, definitely that. But they wouldn't have won. They wouldn't have beat Colorado.
Either way, yeah.
But I think they would have taken one, maybe.
Yeah, I think he has a lot to prove. Obviously, he's going to have a lot to prove every season, just because he is UC Saros. He plays for the Nashville Predators, and you got to be, goaltending with the Nashville Predators franchise. That's just the way it goes. Like this.
For sure.
This team's always had really quality goaltenders in net. For the longest time, it was Pecorine. Saros is going to continue to face that pressure.
Yep, for sure. Nikki chimed in again. Can't wait till Prokop comes up. He's actually a brilliant puck-moving defenseman. That was a sneaky good pick. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about that dude.
Luke Prokop. Luke Prokop is one of the up-and-coming defensemen in the pipeline that should eventually make his Preds debut. Hopefully, maybe not in this season. I wouldn't expect it to see it this season necessarily, but definitely after. So maybe the following season. 2023-24 season, he's definitely on the right path. I mean, he's definitely his career development path is shaping up nicely, and he's a really good quality player. He's a good leader, and he's one of many very great prospects that are in this pipeline right now.
Yeah, exciting.
So good one there, Nikki. Thanks for throwing in Luke Prokop there because that is a good one. We got any more players on here that we feel like has the most to prove that we haven't mentioned?
Maybe Lucas Spiza.
You had to say that right when I was taking a drink, right? I'm about to spit that all over the.
He's got to find his way back to Nashville somehow.
He's still on the injury list.
Gosh, man. I don't know. Anyway. It's been a while since we've mentioned him, so
we haven't thrown him into an episode in a while. We missed it. We were on a good streak there where we always threw in a Lucas Spiza reference, but
yeah. So we'll throw.
All right. Well, good stuff.
Oh, Max Greenberg, Ryan Johansson.
Yes
and no, I guess. I don't know.
I think he is what he is at this point. What else is there to prove?
Yeah. I agree kind of with that. It's like you got what you got and that's just the way it's going to be, I think. I don't know. He definitely had a better season last year, which was good.
He figured out ways to score a lot of goals, and he did a lot of his damage on the power play, which was not normal for his career. So maybe we found something there. Maybe Johansson found his knack for scoring. And let's hope that the Preds, can have another really quality power play. Especially got to figure out what's going to be your second power play unit now with this new roster that they're throwing together. All right, So those are our players with the most approved. Thanks, everyone, for giving us some really good responses there. Really good stuff. We appreciate you listening tonight to Catfish on Ice. This is episode 139, brought to you by DraftKings. The action never ends at DraftKings Sportsbook, especially this summer, with tons of ways to bet on all of your favorite sports. So even though hockey is in the dead of the offseason, there's so many good sports out there. I'm officially in baseball mode. I'm going to go ahead and cheer for the hometown team, the Tampa Bay Rays. So that's what I'm watching right now. I'm getting into baseball. Baseball is only going to get me through like a month, and then football starts. So as long as baseball can just carry my sports for a month, if that's all I need baseball to do. Just carry me through a month. And then I'm good. Because then I got football season, then I got college football, and then that's when hockey starts, and then we're smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing. That's right.
But with DraftKings, there are so many sports going on right now. I was watching axe throwing over the weekend.
Oh, I saw that.
That's fun. The other day that is a fun sport. That is a really suspenseful sport. Have you ever actually done it, Rich? Have you ever gone axe throwing?
I have not.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks like it is a lot of fun, but I've never done it, so might have to try that out.
It's like the new age bowling. It's like bowling, but you're throwing an axe at a log. It's like a lot of fun.
Hey, man.
And it's hard. It's harder than it looks.
For sure. Yeah.
And
I have thrown an axe before.
And they give you, they give you like a crash course on like the proper way to hold it and all that stuff. Yeah. And there's different types of axes you can throw for different. But anyway, it was a really fun sport. So I'm sure on DraftKings you can bet on axe throwing. I'm sure that's on there.
I guarantee it's on there.
Right now, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving new customers a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's right. Make your first bet up to $1,000, and if it doesn't win, you'll get another shot to cash in. So basically, you're foolproof here. Just all you got to do, it's a risk-free bet, everybody. So just all you got to do is just use our promo code THPN, and there's nothing to lose but everything to gain. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details on responsible gambling practices and if you need gambling help. Best of all, DraftKings is a safe, secure, and reliable. You can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. So go do that, DraftKings Sportsbook, to get you through this summer with all these great sports that are going on right now.
It's like free money. That should be their tagline.
That's all we're doing. We're just trying to give you free money here on Catfish on Ice. That's all we're trying to do.
It's like free money. That's all it is.
So we still have to do the hockey spelling bee here, which is going to be hilarious. Can't wait for that. Before we get to that, let's go back and look at all of the captains in Preds history and try to come up to a consensus on who the top ones are. So the Preds have had 7 captains in their histories. Only 7.
7 captains.
Let's start with the first captain of the team, and that is Tom Fitzgerald. Didn't put up a lot of big stats, but he was a really, really good leader on the ice. All the stories I've heard about Tom Fitzgerald was that this guy was a veteran leader for this expansion team in 1998. And he was definitely an NHL veteran by that point when he joined the Predators. Awesome. He played 4 seasons as captain for the Nashville Predators, played 17 NHL seasons overall.
Wow.
Put up 88 points in a Preds uniform, playing from age 30 to age 33 with the Predators.
There you go. Kicked off the
original captain of the Nashville Predators. Captain. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, he's in a front office role for the New Jersey Devils. I thought he was. I had to double check that. Yeah, he's the general manager and the executive vice president for the New Jersey Devils now. So I knew he was in a front office role. So obviously he has a lot of leadership capabilities. If he was, being captain for the Predators at one time, and then now he's a GM.
Absolutely. So the second one, yeah, this is like a history lesson for me because I definitely wasn't watching then. Greg Johnson, that's the second one?
Greg Johnson was a really, really quality player for this team. 4 seasons as captain from 2001 to 2006. Really, really important part of this team. Was really integral in when the Predators first started making the playoffs. So he was a big part of those teams for sure. He tragically lost his life at age 48 back in 2019. Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, I remember
really,
that.
Yeah, really, really sad story. They think it was probably suicide. Really, really sad story. I remember when that story came out and just reading the details. Really rough stuff, and it kind of leads me into the fact that anytime you need help, you just got to go talk to somebody. Sure. Don't ever suffer in silence, because you really never know what someone might be going through. Behind closed doors, they might seem happy, they might seem like everything's perfect in their lives, but they could be really suffering behind closed doors. So that's why I always try to sign off on episodes and say, hey, just be kind to one another. Be a good person.
Yeah, be a good person. That's important. So the next one, so I'm looking at the Predators like history on their website. They've got Scott Walker as a captain from January 12th to January the 27th, 2003. I guess Greg Johnson was hurt or something, and he took over as captain, or something happened. I don't know what. But Scott Walker, I didn't either until just now. Scott Walker, the picture of him on here is wearing the good old mustard cat jersey. So got that to look at.
Scott Walker was another good one in the early days of the Predators. Another good one.
For sure.
Let's go to the first really great defenseman that the Predators had for this franchise. I know you know this player, Rich. Kimmo Timonen. Yeah.
For sure. Yep.
He was definitely one of the best defensemen the Predators had ever had. This was before Shea Weber joined the team. Kimmo Timonen, only 1 season as the Preds captain. That was 2006-2007 season. 16 NHL seasons, over 1,100 career NHL games. That's a lot of hockey.
That is a lot of hockey.
When you really think about it, 1,100 NHL hockey games is hard hitting, and that's not counting all of the other hockey he probably played in minor leagues and development hockey and all that stuff. That is a lot of wear and tear on that body.
Yep, 16 seasons.
He is 8th all-time in Preds history in points, 7th in assists, 9th in games played.
Yep.
And you look back on it, and it's really interesting to read. But so in 2007, Timonen was traded to the Philadelphia Flyers for a first-round draft pick. The Predators got a first-round draft pick out of it. And that trade really gets criticized now when you look back on it, because I'm pretty sure you look back on it now, Timonen had a lot of really good years left in him with the
he sure
Flyers.
Did.
So
he did.
I don't know. That's one you kind of wish you could have back.
Yeah, for sure. But he was at Pecorino's retirement, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. Yep.
Thought so.
The next captain here is Jason Arnott, which was another NHL veteran at the time who kind of came to the Predators towards the end of his career. He was captain for 3 seasons from 2007 to 2010. Towards the end of his career, this was really when the Predators were starting to actually gain some national recognition. They were actually starting to be a playoff threat and actually win in the playoffs. Jason Arnott was a big part of that. Put up 72 points in 2007-2008 season, which back in those days, the Predators were not a run and gun, high scoring team at all. Sure. They were just one of those hard hitting teams that, had to score 2 or 3 goals to win a game, But yeah, he had 107 goals in just 4 seasons with the Predators, 107 goals. He is 7th in power play goals in team history, and he's top 10 in Preds history in goals, even though he only played 4 seasons. So that's pretty good.
That is good. Looks like he played for 6 teams throughout his career.
He's also tied. He's also tied with Philip Forsberg for the all-time leader in Preds history in goals per game.
Oh,
So Arnett and Forsberg are tied for being the most efficient goal scorers in team history.
All right. That's crazy.
Dropping some knowledge on you today, Rich.
Knowledge is power.
You beat me to it. I was actually just about to say
there you
go.
So now we're getting into the
nitty gritty. Before you do the top two, how about you we got one more though. We got three more left, but
3 more.
Name the other one that we know is not going to be at the top of the list, but was still a pretty impactful player for this franchise.
Mike Fisher.
Mr. Mike Fisher.
Mr. Mike Underwood. For sure. Yeah. Everybody still loves him, even though he, doesn't play anymore. Like everybody, he was a great captain, apparently. I wasn't watching then, so I can't speak to it very much.
He was a really good captain. He was a leader in the locker room for sure.
Yeah. Just looks like he finished up Nashville 241 points, 111 goals in 8 years. So
I always forget that he played 8 seasons in Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't start watching it until like the end of the 2018-19 season. So I had just missed him coming back and playing the 2017-18 season. So
he was a really good two-way. He was a really good two-way player, though. That was the thing. Like he played good defensive hockey for a forward. He wasn't just like a goal scorer. He definitely generated a lot of points, but he wasn't the lights out superstar goal scorer necessarily. He was more of a two-way player and definitely had that leadership ability to him as well. So was a very important part of the Stanley Cup run. He played big parts in the teams that were building up to be a Stanley Cup team.
Yep, definitely.
Let's get to the top two.
Here's the top two. Who's going to be number 2?
All right, I'm going to go ahead and tell you who my number 2 is, and I'm probably going to make some people mad here because that's going to tell you who the number 1 is. My number 2 Preds captain in history is going to be Roman Josi. He is not number 1 yet for me. He's not number 1. I'm sorry. He's not. I can't do it. Cannot do it.
All right.
He might be eventually. But as of now, Shea Weber is still my top all-time Predators captain.
Yeah. Everybody loves Shea Weber. That's for sure. I agree. I mean, points-wise, obviously, Yossi's done amazing things and will continue to do amazing things. But, everybody loves Shea Weber. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
I still don't know to this day. I still don't know what to think about the Shea Weber PK Subban trade. Like at the time, it made sense, and Subban definitely had a good run while he was here. Briefly, but it was a really good run. He meant a lot to the team. But I just wonder what could have been if Shea Weber stays with the Predators and retires as a Nashville Predator. Obviously, all of his injury problems that have happened since then or with Montreal Canadiens, it's been really hard to watch. But
very tough. Yeah.
He's still my number 1 captain for now, just because he was the first superstar the Predators ever had.
Yeah.
Like nationally speaking. And then, of course, Pecorine came along. But, yeah, Shea Weber was that first elite superstar that the franchise ever had.
Yeah, for sure. Once again, I wasn't watching, unfortunately, when he was playing for Nashville, but I've always liked, even when he was playing for Montreal, I'd always like to watch him play.
And that slap shot he had, shot he had on the power play was so lethal.
Yeah. I saw a video.
He was cranking that thing up on the power play. It was like, good luck, goaltender, stopping this.
Yeah, I saw a video. It wasn't last season. Maybe it was season before in training camp. And he hit a slap shot and it hit the goaltender in the mask. And it actually cracked the dude's mask and like bloodied his face. So, yeah, don't stand in front of that.
When it's all said and done and when Roman Josi retires as a Nashville Predator way down the road here, he'll be the best Predator of all time. aside from maybe Pecorine. He'll have all the franchise records by that point. And so maybe then I'll put him ahead of Shea Weber.
Yeah.
But not where we sit here in 2022. Not yet.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Not yet.
Everybody loves Shea Weber. Still to this day.
So my third place captain, if I got to go third place, I would go Kimmo Timonen. Even though he was only captain for one season, I would go Kimmo Timonen as my third best captain.
For sure. Yeah, it's awesome. I put Roman Josi first because he's kind of all I've known. So, and he's like a wizard. So,
and he's going to be a captain for the foreseeable future. He ain't going anywhere.
Sure. Yeah, he's not going anywhere. So, that's who I would put.
And then just looking at assistant captains, Ryan Johansson's been assistant captain since 2016. So.
Yeah,
I've always thought if Roman Josi wasn't on this team, he would be a good captain for this team. And I mean, you're thinking it would be probably Philip Forsberg, but I've always thought Ryan Johansson would make a really good captain of a team too.
Yeah, I do too. He's got those leadership qualities and always sticks up for everybody. So that's definitely something Roman Josi does, but Ryan Johansson's a little more vocal about it, I guess. So.
He's definitely more vocal than Roman Josi is. Although Roman Josi, as he's gotten older and older, he's become a little bit more animated.
He has, and that's good. That's what you want to see.
There were a couple moments last season where if you were a lip reader, then you might have to shield the kid's eyes a couple times.
Yeah, for sure.
But most of the time, he's pretty stoic, though.
Yeah. Nikki said, for me as a leader, it was Mike Fisher. It's all in the Cup final that year. If it wasn't for injuries, I think they would have won. Yeah, that's solid. For sure.
Very good point from Nikki. And, of course, that was the year that Ryan Johansson got that really nasty, gruesome injury, and so he wasn't able to play in the Stanley Cup. Yeah. But good stuff there. All right. Looking back at all the Preds captains in team history. All right. Sure. It's the moment of truth, Rich. It is our hockey spelling bee is here.
Oh, man. A little nervous.
Hockey spelling bee. All right. Who wants to kick this off? I'll go first, all right?
Okay, you go first. Go ahead.
I will go first. All right.
So you're going to give me the player.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a player. You got to spell this player's name right, first and last.
Oh, first and last. Golly, okay. All right.
All right, here we go. It's from a team that you hate with everything in you. So you already know. Please spell me Andrei Vasilevsky.
Okay. Andre is Andrei.
Okay.
Vasilevsky is Vasil. Oh, I always mess up this part.
Do you want me to use it in a sentence? Andrei Vasilevsky plays on the Tampa Bay Lightning, a team that Rich Howe cannot stand.
It's Vasilevsky.
You got it right. Good job. I'm impressed. You worked your way through it. That's a tricky last name.
It is. It's like Vasilevsky.
I thought you were going to get tricked up with the IY at the end. Yes. I thought you were just going to forget that last I in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good one.
All
right.
So here's my joke one for you. Can you spell Patrick Waugh?
Yes.
This is a joke, though.
Patrickroy.
Yes. Lots of people, non-hockey people, would go, that's Patrick Roy. That's not your one, though. That's not.
But the problem with that is, if you don't watch hockey, you probably have never heard of Patrick Waugh anyway.
That's true too.
And if you've ever watched hockey, then you better know how to spell Patrick Waugh the right way.
Absolutely.
But that was a good one, though. You had to test me there. You were just that was just a warm up. That was just a warm up.
Here's your real one. So, are you ready?
As ready as I'm going to be.
Jonathan Marchessault.
This is not even
And you don't even have to spell Jonathan.
Jonathan Martin. All right. M-A-R-C-H
Yep.
E-S-S-A-U-L-T.
Yes.
Did I really just get that?
You did.
I swear I was not cheating.
Oh, that's awesome.
I worked my way through that with my brain. My brain was
I'm
really.
gonna tell you, I doubt if I would have been able to spell that. The two S's probably would have messed me up.
I'm like, my heart's like racing. I'm like, I think my BPM's like up in like the 120s right now. Like
That's
this
good.
is
good for you.
Whew.
Awesome.
All right. This one's I feel like this one's a little easier, but it's still a tough one. It's a trick one. It can be tricky.
All right.
Leon Draisaitl.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
It's a tricky one. It's a very tricky name. It trips me up every now and then.
So is Leon just Leon?
Yes.
Okay.
This is more about the last name here. This is more about the last name.
I think it's Draistl.
Spell it one more time.
Draistl.
No.
Dang.
It's a tricky one. All right. It's Draisaitel.
Oh my gosh. S-A-I. Oh yeah. Yeah, I left out. Ugh. Okay. Gotcha.
That's a really tricky last name. It tripped me up for the longest time.
That is very hard.
One of them German names. It's one of those German names are always really, really tricky.
Yeah, that is hard. I always had to look that one up. Actually
when you're typing it out
until I figured out how to send it out.
All right, let's see if I can go. Let's see if I can go 3 for 3 on the hockey spelling.
This would be awesome. So
lay it on me.
This is the one I saved for the tough one.
The last one wasn't a tough one.
I think this one's harder, but I don't know. So this guy's from Finland, so that means it's going to be hard.
It's got to be somewhat of a well-known player. Okay, you can't throw some prospect at me.
Dude. Oh, you've heard of this guy.
All right.
The player's name is Rasmus Ristolainen. Rasmus Ristolainen. He's from Finland, plays for the Flyers. You've heard of him, right?
I've definitely heard of him, but not enough to where I ever look at his name.
Yeah, that's true. All right,
Rasmus.
You don't have to spell Rasmus if you don't want.
All right. I'm an overachiever, so it's Rasmus, right? That's how you spell his first name.
Rasmus, yeah.
All right. R-A.
Nope.
I've already missed it?
Yep.
Wait, R-I.
There you go.
R-I-A.
Nope.
I give up.
Okay. It's Ristolainen. Ristolainen. I would have never been able to spell that.
When you spell it, though, it sounds so much more simple.
Ristolainen. Yeah, for sure. It's like I was gonna see if you could spell Capo Caco. That's last name's kind of weird. I think it's Kaako or something, maybe. I
could have gotten you on Philip Hedl. Philip Hedl would have been a good one to get you.
Oh, that's isn't that CHYTL?
Yeah,
right?
the C. Yeah, the C is silent. Yeah. Could have gotten you on that one.
That dude's name.
All right. Well, I guess we didn't do that bad.
No. Hey, man. I don't think I could have spelled Marchessault. I'll tell you that.
And those weren't softballs either. Like
they're definitely not, for sure.
We didn't do like Pret's Facebook where everyone spells Forsberg B-U-R-G.
Forsberger.
Or they spell Granlund, or they spell Granlund.
Granlund, yeah, I've seen that for sure.
Or Johansson. Johansson, they'll spell it O-N, so Johansson.
Yes. I don't know. Whenever I go on Twitter or Facebook, if I see something I've posted that there's an error, it bugs me. And if it's on Facebook, I fix it. because I can't take that.
The edit button is totally allowed on Facebook, everybody. So
not on Twitter.
Go clean up your post. Do the hockey spelling bee if you have to, like we did tonight. Get a little smarter with your spelling of last names.
Even when we tweet for the podcast during the season, if I make a mistake, I'll usually delete it and do the same thing over again and just send it back out. Don't like the errors.
Before we get out of here, that was a lot of fun. Hockey spelling bee there. We'll have to bring that back again. We'll bring that back.
Very good.
All right, let's get to Paul Bissonnette's post real quick, just because I want to work out my emotions of what I got from this. So the Predators have the 6th best winning percentage since 2010, which really blew my mind. I did not realize. I knew they were up there. I knew that they've had a lot of regular season success.
And
but
here's the
did
top.
Not realize they were 6th best.
Yeah, let's go through the top 5 really quick. Number 1 is the Penguins, Stanley Cup winners in that period. Washington Capitals, Stanley Cup winners in that period. Boston Bruins, Stanley Cup winners. Tampa Bay Lightning, Stanley Cup during that period. St. Louis Blues. And then in
Stanley
6th,
Cup winner.
Stanley Cup winner. In 6th, you have Nashville Predators. 7th, you have the Rangers. I don't think they've won a cup. It's been a while.
Not since 2010, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I don't know that for a fact. But yeah, I saw this too.
San Jose Sharks have never won a Stanley Cup. But you're looking at it too. What also makes me sick here is the Predators have 11 playoff appearances since 2010, which is 3rd highest in that time. Penguins have 13. The Capitals have 12. The Preds are tied with the Bruins with the 3rd most playoff appearances since 2010.
Yep.
And all they've got is one magical run in 2017 to show for it.
Yeah.
That's stings.
True.
It stings big time. It really puts it in perspective why so many fans are rightfully so, why they're so frustrated with David Poile, why they're so frustrated with losing in the first round. That's why they're frustrated with not rebuilding this team from top to bottom and starting from scratch. This is why when you see a list like this.
For sure. Yeah, and you kind of look at what they did in this offseason. We went through signing Forsberg. Obviously, that was huge. But, getting McDonough and Niederreiter, those kind of landed in Poile's lap. He didn't really, have to seek those out very hard to get those players on the Predators. So you can't – you credit him, I guess, for making it happen. But, he didn't really have to do much in those 2 instances. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's a weird list, that's for sure.
So Paul Bissonnette said sustained relevancy. And he's basically saying, that the Preds have been very relevant for a long time now. And he even has them as a sneaky bandwagon team for next season.
Sneaky wagon.
That's what sparked all this.
If you watch the video,
he pushed back because if you read all the comments in the thread here, they're 99% negative about the Preds. Of course, sure. So
yeah,
no one takes the Predators serious, even though they make the playoffs every year. No one takes the Predators serious. Everyone outside of Nashville thinks 2017 was a total fluke. All they do is the banner jokes. You won the President's Trophy the year before, and then you don't even get out of the second round. So, and then you've lost in the first round ever since. So, no one takes the Predators serious. No one's going to take the Predators seriously, no matter how many times they make the playoffs in a row, until they actually start knocking out really good teams in the playoffs and they start going to conference finals. They got to get up there. They got to climb that ladder. Until they do that, and I'm not so sure. They might have the team to do that this year, but they've got to get hot at the right time. And then I do think this team is built to win in the playoffs if they can get there.
Yeah, I agree. And if you watch the video of Paul Bissonnette talking about the Predators, he references Ryan Johansson and Matt Duchene's big contracts, and then he says, "Guess what? They had comeback seasons last year." Which is awesome. Then they got McDonough and Niederreiter. So he he feels pretty good about it. So that's awesome.
If you look at it, Niederreiter and McDonough both are high quality playoff veterans.
Yes.
They have a lot of postseason experience. So you expect them to really boost this team's chances when it comes to getting out of the first round, maybe getting out of the second round. If you get to a conference finals, then I call it a major win, and then you build on that. I know we want to win a Stanley Cup, but you've got to show progress somewhere. Making the conference finals would be a very massive win for this organization, psychologically speaking, to finally get some playoff success again. You got to do that. Otherwise, this isn't going to be good enough. Going to the playoffs again is not going to be good enough. No one's going to care. You got to show it in the playoffs where it matters.
I agree. And if you look at, we've talked about it before, they had a really good first 3/4 of the season. Like, they played really well. They played way better than we expected them to. It's just that last chunk of games, they just didn't have anything left in the tank, or something just wasn't clicking. But hopefully with the two guys they picked up and Forsberg, getting his contract, that's going to be enough to push them over to have a good, solid, complete season. And just hopefully, Saros can hang with that and just continue on playing like he did before their little breakdown last year as well. So exciting stuff.
I mean, it's exciting stuff. We definitely have a lot of reasons to be very excited about this upcoming season, because this team should definitely be up there in the division race.
I agree.
And we'll see what they do at the trade deadline when that time comes. But yeah, it's a good time to be a Predators fan. I think there's a lot of reasons to think that this team is going to have a really, really strong season. So that has been Catfish on Ice, episode 139. We appreciate everyone commenting on YouTube, on Twitter.
Thank you so much.
Can't thank you enough. We love it. You make the episode so much better when y'all comment on the show. So thanks for that. Go follow us on Twitter at Catfish Ice. If you're not already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And, of course, we are part of the Hockey Podcast Network, and we're presented by DraftKings, promo code THPN. We hope everyone has a great rest of their week. We will see you all next week. Be kind to one another. Have a safe week, and we will see you next week.
Yep. Have a good one.